In this episode, we walk directly at the question that sits unasked at the back of every synagogue conversation about science. Modern cosmology and geology converge on an age of roughly 13.8 billion years for the universe and about 4.5 billion for the Earth. The Hebrew calendar, counted from creation, stands this year at 5,786. That is not a rounding error. So what is the thinking Jew supposed to do? The first thing is to understand that this question did not ambush Judaism in the 19th century. The tradition was probing the elasticity of the 6 days many centuries before geology existed to apply any pressure, and that matters enormously. When a tradition revises its reading under fire, you may fairly suspect retreat. When the interpretive routes were surveyed and paved long before the artillery was invented, that is not retreat, that is depth. Let me show you the pavement with sources. The Talmud in Chagiga 13b and 14a speaks of God creating worlds and destroying them before this one. The Midrash, Bereshit Rabbah 3:7, states that the order of time existed before this, epochs in some sense preceding our account. The medieval commentator Rabbeinu Bachia discusses the cosmic cycles, Shemitot, taught in the Kabbalistic work Sefer HaTemunah, according to which our world is not the first edition. And in the 13th century, 600 years before Darwin, 700 before Hubble, Rabbi Yitzchak of Akko, a student of the Ramban, worked through those cycles arithmetically, applying the principle from Psalm 90 that a divine day is 1,000 human years. Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan, a 20th century rabbi who was also a working physicist, famously presented the calculation. It yields an age for the universe on the order of 15 billion years. From a manuscript written when the best instrument in Europe was a water clock. I'm not asking you to hang your faith on that number. Aryeh Kaplan presented it as a demonstration of the tradition's interpretive depth, not as a physics paper. But it permanently retires the claim that billions of years is an idea no Torah mind ever entertained. Before I lay out the main approaches, I owe you the other side, because our tradition despises cheap rebuttals. How do scientists actually get their number? Along independent roads that converge. The expansion rate of the universe, run backwards, gives 1 o'clock. The cosmic microwave background, last episode's fossil light, carries ripples whose physics yields an age to within a fraction of a percent. The oldest star clusters, dated by the physics of stellar burning, come out just younger as they must, and the radioactive elements in meteorites, decay rates measured exquisitely in the laboratory, give the solar system 4.5 billion years, rock after rock. Different physics, independent clocks, one answer. The evidence for deep time is not a paper wall, and the approaches I'm about to give you were not built to knock it down. They were built centuries early to show that the Torah never staked its truth on a stopwatch. Approach 1. The days are not solar days. This is not a modern dodge. Look at the text. The sun, by which all human days are measured, does not appear until day 4. Whatever days 1 through 3 were, they were not solar days. The yardstick did not yet exist. Psalm 90 says 1,000 years in God's sight are like a watch in the night. And the Rambam, in his Guide for the Perplexed, Book 2, Chapter 29, states that the creation account is written in veiled language, that Ma'aseh Bereshit is amongst the Torah's concealed matters, not its plain reportage. Approach 2 is associated in our time with the physicist Gerald Schroeder, and it deserves to be stated properly because its core is real physics. Einstein established, and satellite clocks confirm daily, that time is not universal. The rate of a clock depends on gravity and velocity. GPS satellites must correct for it, or your navigation would drift by kilometers. So when we say 13.8 billion years, a physicist is entitled to ask, measured by whose clock? Ours, looking back, yes, but the Torah's 6 days are narrated, so to speak, from the frame of the early universe itself. As the universe expands, light stretches. That is what redshift is. And the total stretch factor from the era when stable matter formed until now is roughly a million. Apply that dilation, and 6 days in the early universe's frame spans billions of years of Earth clock time. Schroeder works it day by day and finds the epochs land in a sequence tracking the Genesis order. Physicists and rabbis alike have raised objections to details of Schroeder's scheme, and it is a reconciliation model, not a proof. But its central insight is unassailable. The question, how old is the universe, has no observer-independent answer, and a text narrating from the beginning is not obliged to use the clock in your kitchen. The Rambam said time is created and relative to motion. Einstein supplied the mathematics. Approach 3 simply embraces the ancient worlds, the Shmitot, the worlds built and destroyed, the prior orders of time. On this reading, the calendar counts not the age of matter, but the age of this order. And here history hands us a striking exhibit. In the 1840s, before Darwin published, Rabbi Yisrael Lipschitz, author of the Tiferet Yisrael commentary on the Mishnah and a halachist of unimpeachable rigor, pointed to the newly unearthed fossils, the mammoths and great saurians, and declared that the naturalist had found the remains of precisely those earlier worlds the sages described. He read paleontology as confirmation of a Midrash. Approach 4, held sincerely in parts of the community, takes the 6 days as literal and the world as created with apparent age, as Adam was created fully grown. I mention it with respect and one observation. It removes the question from science entirely, since a world created looking old cannot be investigated on that point. A Jew who holds it should hold it knowing that other gates stand open and always have. One last detail, and to me it is the most telling. Work through the traditional reckoning, and you will find that the Hebrew count of years begins, in effect, not from the first day of creation, but from the creation of Adam. The first Rosh Hashanah of the count is the day humanity enters. The 6 days stand outside the enumerated years, a prologue whose inner duration the text leaves veiled. The Torah's calendar, in other words, counts what the Torah cares about: moral history, the story of the being who can be commanded. The physical prehistory belongs to the other book, and the tradition's own source, from Chagiga to Rabbi Yitzchak of Akko, suggests it knew that book was long. So, is there a tension between 14 billion years and 6 days? On the surface, yes, and the Jew should never fear the word's tension. The tradition's own name for study is machloket, or argument. But it is a tension the sources equipped us to resolve centuries before anyone needed it. Non-solar days before a sun, created and relative time, prior worlds taught in medieval manuscripts, and the calendar that starts at Adam. You do not have to choose between the rocks and the scroll. You have to do something more demanding. Read each book in its own language. In the next episode, the strongest single card in the believer's hand, the discovery that the universe's fundamental constants are balanced to a precision that has made sober physicists reach for the vocabulary of design.